Colonial Beach Town Council work session for Wednesday, February 6, 2019 at 6 p.m. I'd like to announce that I'm going to keep pretty strictly to the Robert's Rules of Order. We have a lot of things to talk about. I will not be accepting commentary from the audience unless it is in public comment. Public comment is restricted to 3 minutes per comment. Please state your name and address when you come up. First up is roll call of members. Mr. Blunt is absent on vacation. Mr. Alger is absent for the time being because he's stuck at work, but he will be here as soon as he can be. Mr. Surley. Present? Yeah. Aye. Pat, aye.
Here.
Val Sleeman.
Present.
Vicki Robertson. Present. And Robin Schiff. All right. Next up is approval of the agenda. Don't have any amendments to the agenda, but I would like to clarify that the status item, Town Council priority list and grant opportunities, that we do have a resolution that could be discussed under that, and it will be resolution 13-19. And when we get to that, we'll talk about it. Again, I don't know that we'll vote on it or anything, it just will be discussed, but it wasn't, I wanted to add that it was a point of discussion under that line item.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing that there are no presentations at this time for old business, we'll move to new business items. First up is the resignation of Anthony Tony Swenson as the building official. This is tab A, and he resigned effective February 1st, and it's past the 1st. We did do an exit interview, and in closed session we will discuss that, but otherwise I don't see any reason to not accept his resignation as it is. Is there a motion to accept the resignation? Is there a second? Second. Any discussion?
I have a couple comments.
Excellent.
I just want to point out to everyone, the only reason the council is accepting the resignation is because for some reason we were the party that hired him. Typically this would come under the town manager as it's one of his employees and not an appointed position by the council. Secondly, there's been a lot of discussion about the reason that we actually as a council hired him or approved him instead of the town manager before, citing the fact that he didn't have all the certifications coming in. That's a standard practice for DHCD in the state of Virginia. DHCD is set up where they have an opportunity for localities to hire a certified building official on a basis of conditions. The conditions be he has 90 days to pass the original core competence program, and he has 12 months to meet the certifications. There are no such, there's not an inventory of these people on the street and so forth, which is why part of the regulation, which we have adopted as a town when we adopted the fact of having one building department, that is a process and it's part of it. So my point being is that when we go to hire, when the town manager goes to hire the next building official, it's really the town manager's role, and there is no reason for us to be involved in duplicating a requirement, a set of requirements that is already there. That's all I'm
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, do I have the motions on the table? I will call for a vote. Mr. Surley?
Aye.
Mr. Ott? Mr. Lena?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
And Robin Schiff. All right, the next discussion item is the appointment of a new building official. I think your discussion topic is relevant to this point as well. This is a topic that we are just going to discuss. There's no definitive, we're not going to vote on the resolution right now. So I'd like to open it for discussion. I will let the
new CBO. I was hoping in closed session that we can probably talk a lot about that in detail, given the fact that we have a couple opportunities and options. So I will look in closed session for some guidance from council on how we should pursue the CBO. We're looking at some possible internal options as well as some external, as well as third party. And hopefully we can have some further guidance given at that point.
Mr. Sodi?
I don't know that that falls under an item that needs to go into, if we start talking about an individual, yes, but I don't know that that discussion is something that goes in closed session.
My understanding is that it will be discussed about specific individuals.
It is about specific individuals.
That's right.
Well, right now, we still haven't figured out where that specific individual could even possibly come from. It's not that we're looking at where can we possibly find somebody. We don't have that.
I know nothing more than what I know.
I just want to make sure that we keep out in the open what should be right.
Well, I might be able to further elaborate, it might be able to help or further the conversation along. After discussing the issues with the public works director as well as with the zoning community development, and also our impromptu CBO that's located out of Carolina County, our options are as follows. We can either promote within and try to build our own CBO internally.
Which I understand both candidates have turned down. So that throws that out.
Because I knew that one had denied that, one kind of withdrew his interest, we're going to try to look at and do.
No, he just said he's not willing to do a permanent thing.
It's not a viable option. It's not worth discussion.
The second option was there's a company out of Maryland that has CBO qualified people on retainers where we can use them as a third party to come in. And then the third option is to look to the county in neighboring counties to see if we can fall under their umbrella CBO while we either hire someone or look for their own internal option which is currently doesn't exist.
That's no question. Again, no interest.
Sure, can I hold off and go down the list and we can come back to that?
I would very much like to know why, if we can't go with the county at this point, this is a position that we need to have right now.
The position itself is a requirement that we must hold. The way it was written is that any town above 3,500 people must be able to provide this service. In the past and before my arrival, we've looked to the county when we had a separation of the CBO and we had that gap of fulfillment. We've looked to the county to perform those functions, but it's something that we have to have internal to our county.
Yeah.
I didn't interpret yours as
I
saying,
agree.
I didn't interpret it, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
My understanding, Allison, you know, I've spoken about this because you're a past experience, and Mr. Cornwell, if you could jump in. I understand that we have to have the ability as a town to 3,500, but however, it gives us the option to piggyback on the county of which we are part of. So just because we're a 3,500 population does not mean we cannot continue to utilize the services of Westmoreland County.
That's correct, and,
Because we are a part of it.
That's correct, and it's
Correct.
Westmoreland, which probably makes the most sense, as well as the building code says, any of the adjacent
Which
counties,
King George is, yeah.
which, but I've contacted King George and they said they are unable to help us right now. But there is, it could be not just adjacent, but even going a tier out from that is something that could potentially be pursued.
So that does clarify the question, that we do not have to have our own specific, but we have to have the ability. And the other thing is that we have an open and ongoing agreement with Westmoreland County already. And that's all of our erosion control and everything is through Westmoreland County. And actually, when we ran into this problem before, we already had the agreement in place, which allowed Paul Bronco to step in, and we did not have to start all over from scratch. I assume that agreement is still there. It's still
I
there.
spoke with Mr. Wasabi related to this issue, and that agreement was a short-term agreement. It would have to be renegotiated with Westmoreland County. How those negotiations would fall, I don't know, but those data would need to commence
Okay,
I
well,
would
hold
like
on.
somebody to confirm that because I think,
Steve.
yes.
Wait,
Sorry.
okay.
Go
First
ahead.
off, Ms. Robertson had the floor at that moment, and so I would like her to finish and then I'll come up. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that, but I truly, no, I appreciate what you interjected because, I think that that is something that needs to be said. I do know that Mr. Robertson has been in contact with Mr. Wasabi, and he may be able to shine some light on this as well. Would you, since he is in the know,
I request that our county supervisor come to
Thank you. As soon as
the. Thank you.
they requested, the town requested some help, I got a phone call. And you're absolutely right, Steve. The county, by the state, says you have to have the county has to have a building inspector. It does not say the town has to have that at all. And I give you an example, Montrose doesn't have a building inspector, they use the
But
county.
they are less than 3,500.
Yes, but it doesn't matter whether it's 3,500 or not, there isn't. One of the things I always try to do is figure out a way to save the town money. Bingo, this is a big one here. Most of you, if you don't know, Steve probably knows, you never make enough money off the fees and stuff to pay for the building inspector and his department. The town a couple of years ago only made about 30% from your audit report off of the whole total cost. County does a little better, it's only at 40%. The best one that I found out there is Stafford County. They're closer to 90 because they'll fine the heck out of you if you do something you're not supposed to, and that's how they're making it up.
Oh, they enforce their regulations.
Yes, they have a crew that goes out to check. So this is, and I've
I'll
said
use
this.
the mic too. Can you please use the mic?
Okay.
Thank you.
The other thing too is I get asked all the time, what does the county do for us? Bingo, here's something. By the state of Virginia, the town of Colonial Beach is in the county of Westmoreland, and you have to pay Westmoreland County taxes, period. Here's an opportunity to give it to the county at no cost to the town, but I'll clarify that in a minute. No cost to the town. And that money that you save, that 70, 60, 50%, whatever, that money you can use because you are supplementing that department right now. And that's just the way it goes. The whole idea, someone told me, well, the county charges the town more. No, the county cannot charge the town more. You're going to be charged for a building just as somebody in Westmoreland Shores, Oak Grove, Kinsale, wherever. It's the same amount, period.
Westmoreland's fees are cheaper.
That's good to know. So it's the same thing. The only difference is that what would happen is you would come to the town and get your zoning permit, because that wouldn't go away. Then you take all that down to the county and you hand it over and ask for a building permit. Now, I asked about the turnaround, and I was told that that's kind of hard to pinpoint. And the reason being is it should be a few days, no problem. But a perfect example is Patrick comes in with a set of plans for a house. Apparently, the latest thing is people buy their plans and stuff online. They pay a few $100s and they think, oh boy, look at this. Well, they'll go into the counties or wherever and say, here it is, here's my plans, I want to build this. And it has a North Carolina seal on it. No good in Virginia. You got to send it back and get it done. Well, now they're upset. The people are upset for that, you know. Some plans
That's what
aren't.
we call hard.
Some plans aren't good enough, you know. The inspector will look at it and say, hey, you got to get this,
All you're
and
buying
this.
is that architectural, there's no structure that would be.
But
They
so
don't have
that's,
to have seals on
you have to have an engineer, somebody's got to put on. So the days of drawing a plan on a napkin and handing it in are long time over with, they're gone. You know, as I said before, the state says the county has to have it. Here's an opportunity to turn it over and come back. Save that money. That's what the town needs right now. I keep hearing about how broke the town is. Here's a way to take care of it. And then you don't even have that liability. The county has it, and it's your tax dollars to begin with that are paying for it. down there. Now, also understand too, is there was a concern about whether or not that gentleman was capable or whatever. That gentleman, every time he renews his license, he turns in more classes, lectures, whatever that they need. He has far more than what's required. If you do this, the county will obviously be looking at, we might have to hire another one to cover everything. Inspections, when you finish something, it again goes back to depend. If it's walk out there and look at how, in my business of gas, you gotta dig a trench and throw a line down there. So he walks out and looks at it, says, that's fine. Walks away, it's clear. Electrical in a house, a whole lot different. The way the county does it is it's first come, first served. So Frank comes in and throws down some plans, and then Pat does, and then Dallas does, and Robin does. Frank will get his first. Robin, it might take you another extra day or so to get your plans approved. And that is first come, first served, and things like that. That's the best way I can explain it, but it's a whole. We've done it in the past. There isn't any really agreement other than, here it is, take it over, bud, you got it.
All right, I'm gonna clarify a couple things.
Yes,
The first is that one, you are going to negotiate these services with the county. You're going to work with our town manager to negotiate these services with the county.
whatever you want. There really isn't any negotiation. You can just say, if you all vote to do away with the department and hand it to over there,
That's not exactly
then that's
the
it.
way it was explained by Rob just a minute ago, that there was a.
there's no money,
contract
there's no exchange. I hear that, but he's already told me that it's just a matter of when, what time, and this kind of stuff.
And our permit fees would then change because it would be the building permit fees of the county.
Yes.
They would pay those.
We wouldn't
fees
touch
at
it.
the county.
We wouldn't,
But any fees for a zoning permit would come
here to
throughout
the
office
town.
and to you, they never would.
Yeah. You would have to get the zoning permit and take it to the county and say, here's my zoning permit, and this is what I want to do.
Right. So
And
that
then those
needs
plans to be
clear
looked at and
people
approved.
That they have to go to our zoning office, then they have to go to the county zoning office.
No.
Or
No.
the county building office.
Just the building officer.
All right, I want to stay up there, but I want to move down the line,
Sure.
and then I'll come back.
If I got any more questions?
I'm particularly interested in Mr. Lehman's comments, because he's the liaison to the planning and zoning office. So,
I just have a couple questions. I know, this resignation from the building official was sprung on us. What were we doing as of Monday to ensure that we were getting this stuff taken care of?
The Caroline County building official, certified building official, is handling the inspections and has committed for between 1 to 2 weeks.
So basically, until we can vote on this at the regular meeting.
That's correct. And I can ask him for additional time at your request.
I think this is something that's, I guess, has to be worked out. I mean, it sounds to me like it's a service that the county has to provide, but, we definitely we don't want to jump in with the county and then we have people up here waiting 2 or 3 weeks
No.
to get stuff going. That would be and I've talked with Mr. Serby about this, I had another issue with, our folks having to go to Montrose, but Mr. Serby being the contractor and me being the retired cop, he said they have to go down there for other permits and such anyway, so they're going there anyway, so that's not an issue. That was one of my biggest concerns is displacing our local people and our residents. And so that was my only concern with going with the county. And it sounds to me like that's the way to go at this point. That's my opinion.
Madam Vice Mayor, may I add something to this? I've worked on both sides of the equation for this. In the town of Ashland, I handled the zoning permits, and Hanover County handled the building, all of the building permits. In Louisa, my department, the Community Development Department, handled the building permits for both the town of Louisa and the town of Mineral. There are many, many towns and counties that have this agreement. Everything that Mr. Roberson said, I believe is correct as to the positives. I can give you one issue, one that personally happened to me that was a negative. When I was in Ashland, the town council had approved an assisted living facility. I looked at it for zoning, approved it. Because they went to a different entity for the building permit, they actually got away with building senior housing building, senior apartments. When I walked in at the time of CO and realized this was not an assisted living facility, it took years to resolve the issue. There was a resolution finally, but that is one issue. It's the only one that happened to me no, there was one other when somebody built improperly and they had to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals because they were working with two entities. And they didn't have to move the house, which could have happened. They actually received a variance for their home that was built improperly, but there are errors that can occur. But those are the only two that I experienced in the 4 years that I was working with Ashland.
I just have a question. The other entity that you said that they chose to go with, was that actually the county, or was that a third-party inspector kind of thing?
It was the county.
Yep.
I just want to say too, my biggest thing was the turnaround with Mr. Anderson discussed. And my question is we keep talking about agreement, and maybe I'm not comprehending correctly. What I'm hearing is there is no agreement. If we decide to not do it, it's automatically the county's responsibility, so it's a little bit.
I'll wait my turn,
I mean,
With the zoning and stuff, we have to agree that zoning will be done here first. and
but
then
as
go
far
down
as
here.
the building.
It's the same, the Boca Code is what we follow. It's
All right, let
already-
me refer to Rob for just a second on my question.
I was told that there was an agreement in place, and it was supposed to last 6 months between the previous town manager and the county administrator. That agreement was to allow us to continue with the building department, and while the CBO was still acting out of Westwood County.
It was a hybrid.
It was a hybrid.
I
I
will
have a
also
copy of
ask,
that. I have a
So
copy of
if
that.
May I
it's no
continue?
longer a hybrid, then there's no longer a need for an agreement, because it's all the
The-
county's responsibility.
Correct.
the 6 months was because the town wanted to still hire their own, and the county inspected stuff for 6 months without charging the people anything. The payments came to the town, and the county did it as a nice gesture for the,
That is correct, and I was going to add that to it.
Yeah.
But that is correct.
Right, well, I do understand that the way this would function is that a zoning permit is issued by our building, or our planning department,
yes.
and there is a fee associated with it.
Right.
And then our planning department sends them to Westmoreland County for a building permit. There's a different fee associated with that,
Always,
and each entity takes their appropriate fees.
correct.
Okay, and I do not know that the formal agreement is necessary or not, but in order to avoid issues like what Ms. Benjamin just talked about, I do think there should be an understanding of how that process functions.
And that's in the code.
Okay, good. Well, maybe clarification.
Well, what it is, in a case like we,
No, hold on.
All right, I'm
I'm gonna wait for you to come back.
I gotta try and remember all this stuff.
Okay. So, because I know that when I call the county for questions, a lot of times they are zoning related questions to the zoning ordinance of the county, even though I'm calling it the building department. And it will be important that the county is trained to ask if this resident is within the incorporated town limits. And if they are, to refer them to our
Oh,
zoning ordinance.
That's not a problem, yeah, that should always be wherever.
Okay, I get that that's not a problem until it's a problem.
Right. No,
And
it-
somebody wants to build an accessory dwelling, and it's cool in the county, and it's not here, and then all of a sudden they have a building permit to build something that is not here in the position. So I just want to, there is some transition.
They should wait until they receive my signature, because it is in the building code. The building code is what requires them to receive approval from zoning and public works and anywhere else they need.
Yes, but then you say you're not involved anymore after that, so if changes
Yeah.
get
There is a
made.
safeguard for
that's
that,
what-
I'll explain.
Okay, all right, hold on, and we're gonna go, Mr. Dry, is there any questions? All right, Mr. Alger.
One thing I was wondering about, what we talked from Mr. Sweeney about the permit check, was that playing in anything that would have to alleviate if we were, what we were discussing?
Got it. And so I think if there was an opportunity, I think one of the questions that came up, was that the town could possibly have their own permit technician that would then do the technical work of accepting the permit and the fees within the town of Colonial Beach, and then schedule the inspector to come,
that-
and review them.
That can't happen.
The audit, it won't happen, and I'll tell you why. The auditors, which is the same firm you all have, said all money will go to the treasurer. The building inspector, his department doesn't collect the money. When you get it, you walk down the hall to the treasurer, you have to pay.
So
To
we
keep
have our own
everything-
Permit check would help, but if we don't have our own permit check.
Bottom line is this, all the
We
place
have-
the building department gotta be under the CBO, if the CBO's the county, they're all county.
That's
So
what
you
I'm
can't
saying.
have fractured department.
That's what I'm saying, if we had our own CBO, then the permit check would actually make things better, but if we don't have our own CBO, that's gonna make it a lot worse.
No, I wouldn't say that, because quite honestly, Westmoreland County's plan review and permit checks are quicker than, we've never had one stay more than 2 years. Those guys have been there for, I don't know how long. I mean, that's the biggest difference, it's a very consistent department up there.
So they are equipped with permit checks that are obviously gonna be,
I
And
mean, I've never had a state
And we've
road
also
turned
said
around
we
slower
do
than
the-
they are.
the land use for soil disturbance and all that already, the county does.
all right, hold on, Mr. Aller, is there anything else? I really like giving everybody an opportunity to speak,
Just trying to remember.
because there are
All right,
questions.
well, you keep speaking in between all of us, so anyway.
Well, I'm chairing the meeting, so I get to do what I want. Okay, Mr. Survey, wrap it up for us.
First of all, we cannot use a third-party firm as a CBO. That is not allowed. If you have a building department, you have to have a CBO, it either needs to work for you or you get to use the county. Third party is only available for inspection in Virginia, period. Secondly, what Mr. Robertson says, it's very clear in the code that if a township like ours doesn't have a building department, that the county automatically is the building department. I think the only thing that we worked out in a agreement in the past was to confirm that the inspections and stuff, that the availability was there and so forth. Now, the hybrid that we did, the 6-month thing, we did for some stupid reason to keep a person who was totally unqualified on our payroll and have him working for a qualified individual, which was a farce, and it ended up being a farce and fell apart. The fail-safe on code compliance with different types of buildings. A lot of times, there's zoning areas, in the case of assisted living, it's a special use condition, okay? Typically, you don't have an area that's zoned for assisted living or what have you. So it's a special use under a zoning thing. So when you get the special use permit, that's got to be put on the front page of the drawings, and under that, it lists exactly what codes pertain. Now, what happened is that they slid bathrooms and everything into each unit and literally, even though they called it, right, as an assisted living, they made it independent housing by making individual units. So what they did not do was follow the codes. But what we're required to do, and you know, is to address the specific codes that pertain to the conditional use on the front sheet of.
Yeah, I understand that. It just seems like if there are changes made at the town, at the building permit, after the building permit's been, gone to be applied for, and changes are made, we need to make sure that the building
Comes back for zoning to look
comes
at
back
it.
and asks,
For
and
zoning,
that there's
that-
positive communication there is
That's
what
reasonable.
seems to be the issue.
But there is, just make sure you understand, zoning and building by the state of Virginia and for every reason of definition are two different departments. They are. Whether ours is done here or done in Westmoreland County, it's still two different departments that we've been doing incorrectly for years. And to touch on the profitability aspect of it, the last time that we really handled it and were in the black and everything is when we had a building official who was also the certified zoning administrator, who was also the erosion control inspector, who was also the fire marshal. That was Chuck Pearl. And the only thing that he had was one residential inspector who worked for him, and they oversaw the whole early 2000s boom that went on in this town by themselves. So that was, it worked. And now you can't find that special person anymore. And so we've got all these departments and all the support and everything. And what we need, what our town needs to focus on that's individual to this town is the zoning and the plan. The building code is the same for Westmoreland County as it is for Town of Pleasant Beach. The differences between us and the county are our planning and our zoning. And that's what's important to keep here. The rest of it, we're paying for it anyway.
Okay, so I would like a consensus at this work session that we are looking to, in the very near future, have our manager and our supervisor to the county work together.
Sure.
Coordinate this to go forward with Westmoreland County as our building official. Is there a consensus? I'm not voting on this resolution. Is there a consensus that at the work
Clarify the
session-
definition for a second.
Sure, please.
My suggestion is that we do an interview,
Sure.
so we can lay out how we think we can handle
Okay.
with the county, particularly public issues such as, I don't think the county has a maintenance code in its building codes.
They don't have a maintenance code like you have.
I got it on, I don't know.
Yeah, you have the town has always had a stronger maintenance code than, what the county does.
We would retain our maintenance enforcement.
Yes.
Because that's under zoning.
That's
It's not building.
It's under building.
It's under building right now.
Well,
Well, if you go and look, there's two different areas of enforcement. Grass cutting and all that is under zoning. Now, I think that in the past, we've let our enforcement get over into building and over into zoning. Now, what I believe, if I can just for a second, on that issue, we need to maintain what we're doing in enforcement with Teresa. However, what we missed in the past is that Teresa, if she sees an issue that she believes to be building related, she passes it off to the building department, whether it be our own or whether it would be out in the county. She can be the eyes, but she can't take action on it.
But if Westmoreland doesn't enforce the maintenance provisions of the building code, they don't have any experience with that. So we're gonna need to address that.
Well-
So they know we have it.
But under the Code of Virginia, they're required to. So, I mean, if this is something
Okay,
last.
hold on. So the consensus for right now, the
Our
work
recommendation
session.
is an MOU. Memorandum of understanding,
Okay.
county and town, relating to use of the county building department for building inspections within the town.
I don't agree with your definition. We either have a building department or we don't. It's not inspections, it's not this, it's not that. It's the whole thing. We're either doing the whole thing or we're doing nothing. Make sure everybody understands that. If we get into an agreement with Westmoreland County, Paul Bronco becomes the building official.
right.
The tech plan reviewers up there become the plan review. The inspectors become the inspectors. Colonial Beach has nothing in its office under DHCD for building, CBO. None of that's happening in our office. Understand, it's not a mix of
I'm
both.
gonna call on Mr.
isn't he just referring to having the county, do what we expect from our maintenance? They're still doing it, it's just there has to be an understanding that they have to also maintain our standards as well, correct?
It's more of a memorandum of understanding that basically says they will perform the building code provisions for the town, and that they will do exactly what you're talking about. The zoning, they will not approve a building, unless they have a signature of zoning, inspector on the zoning permit. They will assist in, it's just exactly what you've been talking about, it's just laying it out in a one-page document.
The only thing I'll do is confirm the difference between building official and inspections. You say inspections, and it's everything.
Yeah, I agree, totally.
All right, so, this is a work session though, and I feel as though the memorandum of understanding the wording of that needs to be written out. And so I just want a consensus at the work session that we will have a memorandum of understanding for the regular meeting that outlines for these two individuals, right? Are going to work on, and then that will be ready for the regular county.
It may not, because the county will also have to review it too, so.
Well, they're still claiming that they're building permits, they should be.
Yeah, we can get a draft, the county attorney can review it.
We have ours on,
I'm talking about.
our Monday meeting. I don't know how
Yeah, it should be
fast we
pretty
get it on
simple,
there, but we.
Right, not complicated,
It's,
okay. And,
it's just saying what the county's obligations are gonna be and what the town's obligations are gonna
I
be.
request, Allison, can you get a copy of Ashland?
Send it to me too, please.
wonderful. All right, is there a general consensus to prepare a memorandum of understanding for our next, regular meeting? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Save some money.
Yes.
Way to go.
I would just like, to ask Allison to reach out to our fill-in inspector and let him know the direction we're moving and if he can help us out until we can get this established and establish the county.
And I have no concern about going ahead before them will use that. It's just, I want something in writing to make sure that we all understand what we're doing.
I'm fine with MOU, I think it's a good idea. I want to see that before we make an official vote. That's why I just did a consensus.
And also, we can pull the old one. Quite honestly, I think Paul Bronco's been in our acting building position more times than we've had people acting as town managers.
And many times, some of the building inspectors you had here, as you mentioned, were not certified. So they fell under his umbrella, his certification. I've been doing it for years.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Thank you. You saved the town some money, good.
Okay, next up, we're moving on along, is the employment contract authorization to the police chief. We're going to reserve this for closed session. Is there any other discussion that you have at this point? Oh, this has been going for the last two meetings.
Okay, I know, 11 years old. And the video wasn't working, so.
Yeah. We're discussing the terms of the employment. Okay, for the police chief. The next item is an amendment to resolution 30-18 of the Memorial Advisory Committee. We are on tab D in our books. The understanding I have of this, and this is mainly from Kathy, who is the go-to, knows everything of Memorial Advisory Commission, is that it is required that we have 2 town council members designated to do this task. We had 2 town council members. They were Mr. Steve Surrey and Mr. Bill Deller. Obviously, since Bill is not with us up here anymore, then we will appoint a new person to take his place in. My suggestion is we continue to keep Mr. Surrey on his advisory committee, and they will nominate 3 people. It has been told to me that Walter Kearns is interested in the position and that the 2 members should know that. Do I have a volunteer to help with the Memorial Advisory Commission? I'm gonna assign it to one of these 2 people, just so you know.
It's very short term.
It's not a big thing.
It's very short.
Patrick, Mr. I.
All right, I volunteer.
Yes. Wonderful. Excellent.
When she said one of the two people, I knew she wanted to pick you.
I'm up to past my 411 with everything I want to know.
Okay, is this something that people feel comfortable voting on, or does this need to wait for a regular, agenda item?
I mean, this has been going on, I think, since 2003.
Well, what happened is that they've gotten away from, it's to basically put names on the plaque back.
Right.
Gotcha.
And I tell you who was the biggest proponent and really followed it for years and years. And they just, after they got this room done, got the first plaque put up and everything, it just kind of faded away. And so it was brought up, and Bill Beller and I were asked to go out and look for members to help with the appointing and so forth. And I had come up with a couple of names, but unfortunately that's when we went through a rocky road through the early fall with some issues, and it was put on the back burner, and now Bill is gone. So it's not a big deal. It's something just, we have all these things in this town where we come up with these wonderful ideas and resolutions, and then they fall by the wayside, and the people that it mattered to, wonder why, which is kind of one of those. Well, I mean, there's
I know there's one for into that.
Yeah, and but there's other ones, things that people who have, well, it's just like the rescue squad. Every year they give out,
Right.
plaques to people that have done things, and it's that type of thing. It's a recognition. Yeah, absolutely. Naming the boardwalk out for kids, those kind of things
Right.
fell under it.
Gotcha.
Kathy, do you have something else?
It's really prescribed in town code how we go about this, so the first step is getting two council members. We really will just nominate
That's it.
who will sit on this committee, so your job is to nominate.
Yeah, so we're just nominating the committee, and then after that, the committee runs
will
with it.
be formed and passed.
Correct. There are two council members that are nominating the committee. The committee will then nominate candidates, and then
Correct.
we'll go from there. So
That's
it should
correct.
be pretty
It's pretty simple.
cut and dry and simple. And it was directed to me really by Kathy that whoever's on the committee should be the captain. And so.
And I took it because it was real simple.
Yeah.
It'll probably be done at home.
That's fine. Wonderful. I also think that there was a point in time in which the foundation was looking at candidates, so maybe this committee should reach out to them. That's why from there it should be handled by these two designated people.
Madam Chairman, this resolution is passed tonight. Madam Chairman, I make a motion we approve draft resolution 1019, which amends resolution 3018 and orders advisory committee.
Second.
Right, and we are adding in the blanks, Mr. Steve Serby and Mr. Pat Rye. Frank Alger, how do you vote?
Aye.
Steve Serby.
All right.
Pat Rye. Dallas Lehman.
Aye.
Vicki Robertson. Vice Chair.
Take that off of this.
All right, next up is the approval of the lease agreement for Dock Cure Construction. This is a bigger issue, but the specific point that is on the work session is the wording and contract of the lease agreement itself. And so I know that there are other points of this issue that are still to be discussed, but I want to focus in the work session on the lease agreement specifically. And with that, I will open up for an introduction from Rich. Wonderful.
Basically, it's my understanding that the town owns property, abutting the Thomas River, also Royal Bank. And my understanding is that property owners who live across the street from the property owned by the town have been interested and have in some cases have built docks and town properties for permitting process. So I was asked to basically draw a common lease agreement, so that if the town wants to go this way, the town will lease parcel real estate to those persons who are interested in building it out on property. Property is, and will remain the town's property, however, they will abide by the terms of the lease agreement to be valid for 5 years for a 10-year term. I put into the draft lease agreement the terms I was told the town was interested in doing, but it is simply a draft document for your review and consideration. There are some legal issues relating to real estate, which I could go over with the council and like to, because I think this has come up previously, and may come up again. So I hand out this.
Yes, please.
I wanted to go over with you some of the restrictions on the town conveying real estate, or leasing real estate. And those restrictions are contained in the Code of Virginia. You don't want to get one down there, so certainly give it that one, so I can use it. No, yeah, just one and one.
There's your
Because this came up as the last attempted sale of real estate by the town, and so I want to go through basically the ICL rules. 15.2-2100, restrictions on selling certain municipal public property and granting franchise.
Mr. Cole, can I ask that you use a different mic? I know that you say that it's on, but I really want to make sure that everybody can hear.
Now, is that better?
So much better.
Okay.
Thank you so much, I really appreciate it.
Okay, it's 15.2-2100, restrictions on selling certain municipal public property and granting franchises. You will see that paragraph A talks about the town selling property. No rights for city or town in and to its waterfront, wharf property, public landings, wharves, docks, streets, avenues, parks, bridges, or other public places, or its gas, water, or electric works shall be sold, except by an ordinance passed by a recorded affirmative vote of 3/4 of all the members elected to council. Now, I bring that to your attention because that did come up in the last attempted sale of real estate. So the question was at that point in time, and still may be, whether that place was a public place. But my opinion or recommendation is that we simply consider all places public places and avoid that issue in the future. Paragraph B, you cannot grant a franchise, a lease, or right of any kind for a period longer than 40 years. Paragraph B, the second paragraph in paragraph B says, before granting any such franchise or privilege for a term in excess of 5 years, except for a trunk railway, the city or town shall do advertisement and publicly receive bids therefore, in such manner as provided by 15.2-2102. You will see that the draft lease in front of you, it calls for a term of 5 years. And I would strike the paragraph 2 in the lease that says, but may be extended by the lessee in sole discretion for an additional term of 5 years, to make it clear that this is a lease for 5 years and therefore would not come under the prohibition on 15.2-2100.
Okay, so we're striking in number 2,
Beginning
the
but.
word but
To
to
the end of the
the
sentence.
sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And then, as you can see in paragraph C, the requirement of an affirmative 3/4 vote of council shall apply only to the sale of the listed property and not to franchise, lease, or use. So technically, you could approve this lease on a majority vote, because it's not a sale of property. The next state code provision relates to 2101. Again, it talks about putting out to bid a franchise or lease for any franchise, privilege, lease, or right of any kind to use any public property or easement of any description for a term in excess of 5 years. Again, the draft lease is for 5 years, so it would not come under this prohibition. So that is the provisions relating to towns and cities in selling municipal public property. Now, that begs the question of what do you do about a lease agreement that does not come under the statute because it's less than 5 years. That brings us back to the general rule in the 15.2/1800, which is the second handout you have. And that is basically you need to have a public hearing before you can lease property. You do not have to identify to whom you're going to lease it to or sell it to in your public hearing. You simply are notifying the public that the property is going to be disposed of either by sale or lease. And in fact, many jurisdictions hold this public hearing without a buyer. They simply advertise they're going to do it, then they write a list of a real estate agent or put it on a public auction or whatever way they want to dispose of the property. The advertisement requirements for that are in 15.2/1813. That's once in the newspaper having general circulation at least 7 days prior to the date set for the hearing. So I wanted to bring these two statutes to your attention in relationship to the lease of this property and or sale or lease of any other town property that you may have on your radar, so that we can make sure that we know the rules relating to the sale or lease of property.
Thank you. Just to clarify, the second point that you made there is that we will have to, part of this process will be to hold a public hearing that we will indeed lease the, however you define it.
Right.
And we do not have to have the people in which we are leasing to, but we will have to hold a singular public
Yes,
hearing.
sir. Now, the lease agreements themselves will have to come back to you for approval.
Okay, they cannot be done administratively.
I do not recommend that, no, ma'am. I think the lease agreements themselves have to come, because it's a lease between the town and the individual. I believe that they will have, but once you've had your public hearing, that you're going to lease this part of property, there's a question of bringing the lease back to you to approve.
Okay, so this lease that we have in front of us now would be a template,
Yes, ma'am.
and we would do the public hearing first, and then we would enact this lease.
Yes, ma'am. You will
Okay,
do-
so this is still just a review of the lease document, and this would not become a resolution at our next regular meeting because the public hearing would first have to be
Right.
done.
One of the things we've been struggling with, and Allison and I have been working on this, is describing the property that the town owns next to the Potomac and next to Monroe Day, let's correct me. We have now a tax map ID number for the town's property next to the Potomac. We don't, as of yet, have a tax ID number for Monroe. You were working on that. But we need a description. Okay, you gotta say, the town council's gonna hold a public hearing to lease tax map number 1844, or the property owned by the town at 112 Monroe Street, or you gotta have a description to put in the public hearing of what to give the public notice that you're considering, and that's good for sale, lease, or any disposal. Now, if you're doing a sale under 15.2/2100, you will have to advertise that twice before you can do it. Okay?
Right.
And I recommend that you do that anyway, even in this lease agreement, advertise it twice with 1 week between the two advertisements.
Kathy, you're getting all of that?
Just belts and suspenders type argument.
Right.
The rule under 15.2100 only applies to towns and cities. The rule under 1800 applies to, as it says, a locality, which in my opinion will cover towns, cities, counties primarily use the 1800 rules. But what we're saying is, since it's a lease agreement not in excess of 5 years, you do not have to comply with 2100, but you still have to comply with 1800 in order to, you are disposing of town property if only for 5 years.
Okay, I'm gonna open it up for discussion. I'm gonna start on this side then and work this way this time. So, Mr. Alter.
The tax ID, is that just Irving Avenue or is it also Beach Avenue as well?
I think they gave us 2 tax ID numbers for the Potomac, all the way up to Potomac.
We're checking both sides to make sure that we've covered everything. We have to be perfectly accurate and we're double checking.
We have to have a description to put in the newspaper, and we have to have a description.
When you said on the Potomac side, you know, we have the giant space in between from Irving to Beach Avenue. And I'm pretty sure that that's not the same tax ID since you have a beach and other parts in between.
She gave us two numbers.
She gave us two numbers, the commissioner did. My staff is going around the entire town waterway, and we are making sure that we know where every pier is and what is our property, and that we have a tax map for every single piece of our property.
And the other thing was, I was looking online, trying to do a little research myself, and I found something from 2012, so I don't know if these are exactly still the same or not, but it looked like towards the end of point that it broke into two separate tax ID numbers. So from the gun down to close to Elm Park was one tax ID, and then it broke into another one going down towards Castle. It looked like that, but it was from 2012, so I don't know.
And the purpose of having a tax ID number is not so the town can be taxed. The purpose of having a tax ID number is so that there's an accurate description of the property that we're intending to lease, so that anyone can go to the Commissioner of Revenue's office and look at the map and see what it is.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, we're not missing a piece, like, so if that's still in that situation, I think there's like one or two piers that are on that second piece that looks like they're separated. If we only say tax ID number one, well, that doesn't apply to the other one, if we don't recognize that they're either combined now, since it's going to involve myself, or if they are separate, we're leaving those two or three people out.
I would love to have more sets of eyes on what we've done, so I'd be happy to bring what we've done to the meeting so you can see it.
And if we can't get a tax ID number, we can describe the property. Otherwise, it just becomes more complicated.
I just want to make sure.
And every parcel of real estate in the county should have a tax ID number. And in fact, the commissioner was very cooperative with me in giving the tax ID numbers that we just got. She recognized that there were not any tax ID numbers on certain pieces of property, and she assigned some. So.
If they're not there, then we hopefully get them assigned, shortly.
Mrs. Scott? Mr. Lehman?
Just a couple things. I had a couple folks reach out to me and this has taken, Steve, how long we've been here? 2 years, a little over 2 years?
Then go back before that.
Then go back before that, a couple of people have reached out to me going from $100 a year to $500 a year. And I know people that were paying their $100 a year, and at one point in time when they would enter the treasurer's office and nobody would take their $100 because we couldn't get this worked out. So I've been sitting here, I've missed a couple of meetings here and there because of work, but I'm a little curious as to where we came up with the $500 per year when we were charging
It was 100 for a 3-year lease, you can pay 300 at one time, but it's still around.
All right, I'll listen to 1 minute.
We were looking at, in 2018, 2019, what kind of made sense. I took into account that a slip in a marina would cost about that much, or for 2 or 3 months. This seemed very reasonable. For the administrative portion, we wanted to make sure that it was worth our while. $100 a year didn't seem like that was the right fit. $500 a month compared to what you would probably pay $2,000 to $3,000 a year.
You mean $500 a year?
Yes, thank you. $2,000 or $3,000 a year at a marina. This is your own pier. You have private access to it. You can add additions as long as it gets approved by zoning. It just seemed like that was a number that went with the times. $100 a year, just the administration to do this alone. Didn't really seem feasible.
One other question, Madam Chairman. Section 4, Mr. Cornwell.
Yes.
It says that the person leasing the property would be responsible for installing riprap or erosion control. And does that mean that they're going to have to do that upon lease, or that if the damage or erosion got so bad that it needs to be installed, then they would be responsible to pick up that bill? Is that correct?
Well, let's make sure we understand each other. This is a draft lease. You have the right to, and it's your property, so you can put in or take out anything you want. I put in provisions that to me, we believe that they were needed. If you feel like that riprap or other erosion control measure is not necessary, then strike that. Or if you put in there that it's necessary once it's required by the Virginia Marine Resources Commission, or whoever requires that, that's fine. I have no dog in that fight. I just wanted to what I really wanted to do was come up with a template. I wanted to make sure that everybody was treated equally, so that if I wanted to rent a piece of property across from my house, I would know the terms and conditions before I went into that obligation. I was a little concerned, frankly, about the 5 years because it's expensive to build a dock. And you're making a 5-year investment, and you've no guarantee that after 5 years you're going to get a lease renewed or another 5-year lease. I was a little concerned about it. I was bound by the statute. I was concerned about getting bids and doing the whole process. So the terms are your terms. It's your property. You can put in there whatever, or take out whatever terms you want. I felt like you did, that y'all have been just talking, was told, this is before my time, that y'all have been talking about this for years. It's time to put something on paper, and win, lose, or draw, get it out there. So if it's consensus of council, after we go through the public hearing, to change this, that's fine with me, it's your property.
Well, what I'm reading in section 4 is basically if the person that leases the property doesn't maintain it, then the pier will have to be removed, and then nothing will be built back there until the riprap or erosion control has been administered. Am I reading it correctly?
Well, it says the lessee must install riprap or other erosion control measure on the parcel as approved by the zoning administrator prior to so we need to address that, whether we think it's needed or not. If we don't think it's needed, then we take out that provision. If they want to install it, okay, then it will have to be obviously approved by the town. But that's fine. If we don't need to make them install it if we don't want to.
And I'm just asking questions for
Right,
them.
sure.
I got some comments for that.
And Steve, I've got a question before I move down that way.
I think it'll help you with some of the.
I threw a document on the table, so it's
No, absolutely,
y'all can have
absolutely.
something to work with.
And I know that's what we're doing now, is discussing what we're dealing with here. Steve, am I correct in saying if somebody's gonna build a new pier, that if riprap or erosion control is needed, it's gonna have to be put in at the time of the pier build?
Well, let me back up a second. One thing you gotta remember is all of this property that we're talking about, 90% of it is VDOT road right of way. You don't do armor protection in pieces along the VDOT right of way. It either needs it or it doesn't. So let's say that somebody went out on Monroe Bay Avenue where we got some major undercut going on already that's gonna take VDOT potential. They don't go in, they don't do 10-foot section of it or this and that. They do the whole affected piece, right? We're not gonna have a pier guy go in and do 10 feet and then VDOT comes into each side of it. It's just like, okay, a good example is out on Irving Avenue. VDOT is the one that put the armor protection all the way down Irving Avenue. And what they've come up with is a detail that allows the pier builders to cross the VDOT erosion control. That's those tubes you see full of concrete that go down between the rocks and so forth. Now, on Monroe Bay Avenue, there's areas you can't see from the road. Just get down on the beach and look, it's undercut 10 feet, it's almost in the road now. Going in and putting a piece of erosion control in or a dock head back that just takes care of 10 feet actually increases the erosion control around it. The minute you stop here, then the water starts going.
You mean it increases the erosion?
It increases the potential for erosion. And so there's certain areas. Now, I think, I'm going to bounce a little bit. I think we need to approve the lease, but we're going to have conditions that we've got to amend the lease on that are going to come up as we get permits in. So I think my point, are we done? Sorry, did you have
No. I will ask you another question, and that is one of the concerns of the people that contacted me today was, their concern was the 100 to 500. I don't care. I live inland. I'll never have a pier. but their concern is paying $500 a year, and then the town coming and saying, hey, we're gonna, you gotta put riprap in, or you gotta put erosion control in, and that's another $25,000 or how much ever, after they paid to put in a pier. So that's what my question is, are we bounding somebody to put this in? And I think you answered my question, is that
If we sold the property, then they would be responsible for that piece they bought.
Yeah,
But the fact that this is along the VDOT right of way, it has to be looked at as a whole, right, Rob? You agree with that, Raleigh? So we can't segment it all. So that'll definitely, whether we take it out now or something, that's gonna have to be amended, because that's not gonna work as written. We can't.
Well, and I want to weigh in on this a little bit, that maybe there is a better way to word this, where instead of it saying the leasing must install these things, we say the leasing, must,
Coordinate with efforts by
I was gonna
VDOT if
say-
it's necessary to do
yeah,
this.
the leasing must cooperate in a joint maintenance agreement for erosion control, and that maintenance agreement involves coordinating with VDOT. Something in that terms, where then if the maintenance agreement can change as much as it needs to, and we're not changing the lease every time, because it seems to me like when we change the lease, we have to have public hearings.
Well, it's just like there's a lot of situations where it's not a peer issue or a bank issue like this, where people have improvements in a right-of-way. And a right-of-way agreements for that, well, even driveways, if somebody puts goes past their property line over onto the VDOT right-of-way with stamped concrete for their apron, they're allowed to do that, but it says straight up that if VDOT has to come in and tear that apron out, they gotta put it back. That is what I kind of think we need here, that if VDOT and or the town in its maintenance of our roads determines that we have to come in and disturb a bank that may involve cutting 50 feet of your pier out in order for us to do our job and maintain the roads in the town, that responsibility for putting that improvement back falls on the pier owner, not the town. That's what the kind of thing I think we need
Yeah.
more.
I think we're all
Does that make
saying
sense?
the
Yeah,
same
and just to be
thing.
clear, I welcome any change in language. I mean, I felt like we needed to put something on the table.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You've been fooling around with this thing too long.
yeah.
Put it on the table, fix it, move on.
So
Yeah, but
again,
I-
whether we change it now or not, that's kind of more the theory of where it needs to go in lieu of people are responsible for a 10-foot section.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think out of that discussion, we're looking at revising section 4 of the lease agreement to include, instead of this section where it says the leasing must install that whole in section basically, that instead they enter in some sort of joint agreement for erosion control or for VDOT access, and we need to work on that. I don't know what it's gonna, how it's gonna be worded,
It
but
could be a
we're
little
working on
bit
it.
of a procurement, for instance, because things change depending on
Sure.
where along the bank you walk.
That's why I kind of like this joint agreement for erosion control where there's shared,
Leave it wide open.
or the, I don't know.
As part of the permit
I'll let you
agreement.
work.
Yeah, my understanding is that any riprap will have to be approved by the RMC anyway, as well as probably VDOT.
Yeah, in this case, it's
It'd
the,
probably be VDOT and actually DOT
well, if
Or
I
DOT.
make a suggestion.
All right, hold on, we're almost to you. I just want to make sure that Ms. Robertson gets an opportunity to ask a question.
So I'm just sucking all this in because it's nothing that I know anything about, but I thought of insurance. They're required to do it.
That's correct. Okay, see.
I think on this condition of a road,
Paragraph 6 is the,
Insurance.
insurance, yeah.
Sorry.
It's $1 million policy.
I think that my feeling is we're gonna have various conditions along the waterfront that VDOT is gonna have issues with, and it's gonna grow every year, and already is. I think that we need to just put in there something very simple, that at the time of request for permit, issues regarding erosion control or bank stabilization or armor will need to be reviewed and discussed with Public Works, with VDOT, so forth, before, to determine what may be needed as necessary as part of the submission to the RMC. That leaves it open for all the various conditions that we may run into, and I think that's what we have to do.
Yeah, I have a note that, and I missed it in here, so excuse me if I did, that we should require that all piers must be in good standing with the DMRC or the lease will be terminated.
Yes,
All right, have some more issues.
I think that's,
Yeah, and, we wanna make sure that they get, I mean, this is so that they can approve things, so we wanna make sure we're working in conjunction with them. I don't wanna let something that they're
right, so.
not compliant with.
Presently, read paragraph 4 says, "The dock shall be inspected to prove compliance with the Uniform Statewide Building Code, and shall be maintained in conformity with the Uniform Statewide Building Code and the Virginia Marine Resources Commission."
Yeah, I think we need to include that, because really the building code is one part, but the BMRC is who's gonna be enforcing it.
Their BMRC is basically who brings that. in.
Yeah, and they will address those things. You mean just Bay Rigs for the shore?
So it's all like RDA.
Yeah, but docks aren't allowed in the RPA.
Yeah, and also the owner of the riparian rights of the town-owned property is the town.
Yeah.
So we are, as the town, not the leasing, the town, as the owner, is the required we're the ones as the steward of the land that have to make sure we meet the Chesapeake Bay Act. And again, because this is all road right away, just about every bit of it, it's all brought in underneath.
I agree that part of the shoreline maintenance agreement needs to meet the Bay Act requirements, but that's something that we, will like part of.
Well, just the Bay regulations or the zoning ordinance, that's my whole point. It did say we're crossing out, we'll fix it.
Okay, I mean, it's,
But once
I
you
have
pass
to
the
approve it.
zoning, it's all a building department thing, just whether the thing is standing or falling. The only approval you're really getting from the MRC is to cover the subdivision's ground, and also to make sure that the pier is in conformance and not in the navigation. The actual building code is what oversees it.
you wanna add in where it says Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code, comma, Colonial Beach zoning ordinance, comma, and BMRC. Yep, fine.
Another thing, we have piers that date back well prior to the Code of Virginia on leasing of public land that are gonna probably have to be dealt with separately.
I've already gotten a letter from one of them.
Okay. Then,
Right, I'm gonna stick to the lease agreement.
well, that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
I mean, when you're talking about piers that, for a 5-year lease, you've got pre-existing leases in place that go back 50 years,
Yeah,
that are prior to the 5-year.
That does simply have to be reviewed. on a
Exactly,
case-by-case.
on an individual basis. Let's see.
I think that at least in the one case of the attorney I talked to, his client would be very happy to have this type of lease agreement, so they knew what this do.
oh, wonderful. I'll make somebody happy.
Now, one thing I did want to comment on your cost of renting a slip as the basis for creating the lease fee. Marinas build the docks, marinas maintain the docks, marinas pay the taxes, marinas insure the property and all that good stuff. There is a big differential between what you're getting on the price of paying for a slip versus what, like Dallas said, you're paying for the right to spend $100,000 to build and maintain your own dock.
I think that brings up a good point, and since Ms. Wiener has mentioned it before, I'd like to propose that we change the $500 terms to $250, which would then change the $2,500 terms to $1,250. If, but I want to talk about that specifically. Is now a good time to talk about that?
Can you remember the thought?
I can, I have it written down.
Let's see. When you spoke about having the public hearing on leases and not having the names, are we talking about the public hearing being one public hearing that says the town is having a public hearing for the right to issue individual leases for piers attached to parcel blank, which might be all of Irving Avenue, okay?
The notice would read, the town of Colonial Beach is having a public hearing for the consideration of the adoption of a resolution leasing the following property.
Boom, the whole chunk.
Yes.
Or whether it's 3 chunks or 4 chunks.
And it really doesn't.
Not the individual
Not the
pieces.
individual.
That is when we can come in under the lease agreement that has been approved at the public hearing and so forth, correct?
You do not have to approve, you do not have to have a public hearing on each lease agreement.
Right.
You simply have to approve the lease agreement to
The
each.
theory of what we're doing is the public hearing, then we can come in based underneath the public hearing and write the individual leases, and the parameters are written right now into the lease agreement as to who will be the leasing. Now, there is only basically one potential leasee for each dock.
Right, because of the way
Property,
it's
yeah. Let's see.
To clarify, it really doesn't matter whether you own a parcel of real estate containing 5 acres. You have a public hearing that the town of Columbia Beach is going to consider leasing the 5 acres. It really doesn't matter whether you lease the 5 acres to John Smith, or you lease 1 acre to Jack Jones, 1 acre to, it really doesn't matter. You have a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to notify the public that the town is going to dispose of, by lease, this piece of property. Then how you do it is within your
Right.
discretion.
So we have one public hearing, and we approve the lease base,
You have one public hearing to take public comment on whether you're gonna lease the property.
right?
Then if you decide to lease the property, then I bring you back, once Jack Jones comes in and says, I wanna lease this property and I'm willing to sign in terms of this lease, I bring you back that lease for an individual approval, no public hearing.
Well, let me back up on that. My understanding is that by code, that all we have to do is once we have the opportunity, we had the public hearing and we've all agreed that we're gonna lease these out. We have a standard lease form that we approve with all the stipulations, then it becomes an administrative thing for him to sign.
I believe that the town council needs to approve each lease agreement, not with a public hearing, but needs to approve it.
So we will be getting stacks of these.
Well, it depends on how many people want to lease it under these terms and conditions.
Well, you're gonna start with the 300 or whatever that we already have. Because they've got to put them in.
Well, right, but I
But you do
mean,
not have to have,
we will have to see every single one of
Yes.
them. We will not have to advertise.
Right.
We will be able to just put it in even in a work session approval, possibly.
It's a
Because we've
regular
already
meeting,
done
yes.
a public hearing for it. So it's an administrative thing for us to.
I do not like giving to any administrator the authority to lease town property. I think council needs to execute the lease agreement and approve it.
Fine with me as long as we're clear.
I'm on board with it.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it can be done, I'm recommending that it not be done.
Well, I might, just on a little bit, very quickly, on a little different topic. My focus is to get the council out of the administration business and let them do their job so that they can be held accountable for their job. If we continue to meddle in their water and take over their roles, then it's hard to hold the staff accountable. So unless there's a very, very specific reason as to why we gotta look at every damn lease agreement after we've set the whole thing up. Now, if there was changes, or we had somebody come in with a hybrid that needed changes, I can see that. But if it was a straightforward lease agreement, Rob signs lease agreements for equipment, we sign lease agreements for vendor permits down on the boardwalk, we don't sign those. So, I just wanna look at it a little further.
And I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm just recommending it not.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, one of the things doing holding this up so long, I think the concern is that since we have to approve them individually, that this is gonna only be able to done on a bi-weekly basis, and we're continuing. But, yeah, no, that's, I get it.
Recall that one of the requirements of this lease agreement, what he's talking about is that the person who wants to do the lease agreement will need to do a survey. And bring that in as part, that will be attached to this lease agreement. And that survey will show that portion of the property that he is, or she is leasing.
Oh, I
So
thought
it's
the
not-
survey was of their property because they could extend the lot lines to
It is,
understand where.
But the survey is of your property, of the parcel they want to lease.
So we are making them
Survey.
pay and survey.
Yes, sir. Otherwise, we don't know what we're leasing to them.
It used to be just the extensions of the property.
Well, that's what I thought this said. what I was misunderstanding. I thought if we had a survey of their property, then the lease agreement would be based on the extensions of the existing
Well, they may be able to
property.
find a surveyor who will draw that out for them, but we need to know, town council needs to know, because we already have one dispute between, two owners who each believe they have the right to a dock because of where the dock was built.
I see.
John Smith needs to know what he's leasing, and town council needs to know what John Smith is leasing.
Of the portion of parcel that we had the public.
Yes.
Okay. Other than the right of point issue, is there any other comments, please?
Not on the actual lease agreement, again, as I said in the beginning, I think it's important to go ahead and get approved, although I do believe that there are gonna be amendments to it and so forth, but there will be a separate issue that I'll push for later about the ordinance requirements. We can't have something we can do unless we have an ordinance. It's a discussion for another day, but I think as far as pushing the lease agreement through, we should move forward.
I think this is in the practice, hopefully, so I think we do. All right, we're gonna discuss the terms of payment now, because this is a more specific issue, I'm gonna go back down the line, Frank, do you have any commentary on how you feel about the term of payment?
One thing, I want to go back slightly a little bit, as I'm kind of tired of this. Every 5 years, we need to do another public hearing, or one public hearing a month. But then we recently had to renew on leases for several properties, for the public hearing, last year. So do we have to renew it every 5 years, do a public hearing in 5 years?
Except if 15.2/2100 didn't exist, I would say no, but since it exists, I think you will.
So if we approve it instead of 19, we're going to do it again in 2024.
But it's still, it's just a blanket, one,
Blanket.
You're just doing it all over again.
just one blanket for all
Because
the
the
different.
administrative, okay.
And then also to go with the payment portion of it as well, we approved it as 19, and if somebody wants to come and get a hearing, 2021. Are there 5 years starting from when they get that, or are they prorated in?
5 years, the 5 years begins when the lease is signed.
So that's why I'm kind of confused a little bit, is like if they buy, or they lease within 2 years into the beginning of 5 years, are they automatically extended to 2 years to the next one?
Yes.
Or,
The lease begins at the time of sign.
Can this not say that it is up to 5 years from the time of the public hearing? And that way, when the public hearing expires, we have to do one again 5 years from now, their lease does also, and they also.
Paragraph 2 says the term of the lease is 5 years from the date of execution by all parties.
Right, I understand.
I still think we got a problem with Frank's there. I'm not quite sure how we answer it.
It just seems odd that, someone 2 years into their thing, has to go through a public hearing.
Well, it's not a public hearing for them, it's a public hearing for leasing the
So
property.
I understand it, so what, it doesn't pass.
Yeah,
Well, the lease is still valid.
On the prior public hearing.
that just sounds like a mess waiting to happen.
And maybe I'll have to look at it again, maybe we will not need it.
I'm almost thinking we have to stipulate under what 5 years on each lease. Okay, this is under lease agreement that the town has approved from such and such to such and such, and it'll come up again on such and such a date, or, that may need to be in the
Part of
lease.
the terms.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how, but it's contradictory.
and that might go along with what you speak about the ordinance, that could be prescribed in there how that works. And then this just signifies the specific lease,
That's the way I felt it should have been done, which is the way we had it.
and it kind of separates the two issues of how we do it versus what we're allowed to do with the actual
So
lease.
can we request a draft of an ordinance as well that would complement the lease agreement on how it is to be implemented?
I'd be happy to work on that. I have a little concern about the town adopting an ordinance to control its own property.
All right, well, let's hold off on that
It's
discussion
another
then.
subject.
Yeah,
Another
because
day.
we have a lot of things to tackle. All right, Craig, do you have anything that is actually specific?
Just to ensure that.
Okay, all right, and for the payment term, So you, 250 or 5?
250.
250.
Yeah, we said lower, yeah. Like we said, we're not gonna expect, us to keep up the pier for them like a marina would do.
Okay.
So it makes sense to me a little lower.
Thank you, Brad.
Well, the 250, I agree with him, sounds fine. Because there's maintenance, the public hearing thing is just, it's throwing me for an absolute loop. I don't understand why you have to do it every 5 years.
And I could be wrong.
We're gonna look into it.
Yeah, that just seems odd, that, I mean, once you do it and it's able to be leased, if we have a lease agreement, I feel.
I understand what you're saying, as long as the lease agreement doesn't go past 5 years, I'm not sure why you have to redo the
Yeah.
public
They
hearing.
have, they're like.
I just think that becomes a mess, because if people are gonna, then you're gonna have to redo them over, like if they only have 3 years under, I think there needs to be clarity. Clarity.
I'll clarify that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Lehman?
Yeah, I'm gonna back you, Robin, with the $250 a year, and the reason I say that is because, the 2+ years that I've sat on the council, we've identified, what previous administrations have done, and I realize that we haven't been getting the most bang for our buck, but, and that being said, we can't get it all at once, and just remind everybody that we just passed well, you guys didn't, but the council before you guys,
Thank you for clarifying.
just passed a tax increase, so I think the visual, the optics of it is that we're trying to nail every penny we can, and I don't think that's fair. And so I'm good with the 250 versus the 500.
Okay, you said it was my idea, it was yours.
No, I said 500 was too high, you came up with 250.
I just want to make a decision. All right, Vicki?
I'm good with the most.
All right, and
Yeah, I'm good with the 250, and I think that we need to change the verbiage on shoreline protection to based on per site condition. And I think we ought to have a statement on the bottom that said, a notice on the bottom of this thing that says that, due to the irregularity of every piece of property, there may be specifics that are required from one that aren't required from another. It's just a very unusual thing. We need to leave ourselves open.
We can show that on the site plan.
wonderful.
Site plan too. I think, one thing I think is clear, is just somehow we have to have a document that we can give to a person in Point Beach who wants to build a pier, and they can look at it and figure what all their potential issues are and make a decision based on that. Not get halfway through the process and go, holy crap, I can't do it.
Okay, I'm going with that. Is there any further discussion on this? You did good. Okay, moving forward. Yes.
Does council wish to schedule a public hearing as soon as we can come up with the tax map ideas and with all description of the properties to be leased?
Do you think that that's a reasonable thing to have by March?
I would think so.
By February?
Okay, in February,
I'm pushing, okay?
This,
Yes, by March.
Public hearing, what you think, guys?
It all depends who walks through my door.
Okay. I mean,
We'll report back to you.
we'll work on it.
I will do my best.
Excellent. And we'll probably discuss the revisions and clarifications to the lease in the March work session as well. I
but
don't
that won't hold
expect-
up the,
Right, I don't expect this to be on our regular February meeting for a vote.
And to remind council, I'm not in, will not be in there.
Okay, wonderful. Next. So we definitely want to do it.
is there any way that we can get at least a drafted, get a lease agreement with some changes in it, realizing that it's always open to amendment, that we can approve it for that?
We want to do the public hearing first.
That's up to you.
Oh, we can do them at the same time.
And my point is, people want to know ahead of time, we'll be into the season. So if there's any way of getting these going, we need to get it going. Granted, we may have to make some changes to some lease agreements and stuff, but if we set it up in a manner where it's open, once we have the public hearing, approve it, and then the next thing we can do is approve it.
I'd like to see it
Same
more
here.
work session because some of these questions were very unclear in my opinion.
Well, I I agree with you, Robin, but I would also, I'm with Steve, you know, we've been batting this thing around long enough. Allison, how many calls are you getting from BMRC for new permits, and they're not touching anything until we get this lease in order
Yeah,
somewhere
but we
shape.
can't enact it without the public hearing.
And I'm working on all of it and trying to get it done, all done as quickly as possible, but I can't send out letters until I can tell people when they call, which they will, until I can tell people what it is that's on the lease, what's expected of them. And so the faster I get a lease, but the public hearing is just as important, you're correct.
I just can't see that being a whole lot more work necessary for the hearing. We just got to confirm a couple of applications. That's
Right.
it. The work is in the lease, not in the public hearing for the blanket lease.
I think as soon as you have adjustments to the lease, then all of us will review them. As soon as we get it done.
And I wouldn't be afraid to not go in, you're not gonna have the answers for every condition. We need to leave it somewhat.
Okay, I'm closing discussion on this.
I agree completely. I think it's important that we have the openness and the fairness so that John Smith, who wants to lease his property, doesn't feel he's getting a different deal than Jack Jones next to him.
And the only particulars are based on the specific property. Those are the conditions that could change.
All right, I'm moving on. Tab F, which is the budget timeline that we do not have.
Gladys has kept this as a placeholder for our next meeting. She's gonna have the budget timeline finalized by then. It didn't make our cutoff for the actual agenda packet today. I've seen the preliminary work of the budget timeline, and it looks good. We see no issues moving forward with it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Is there any further discussion? All right, excellent. Next up, tab G. This is a status item for the Santa Maria drainage issue along with an update. I will let Mr. Murphy introduce this. Is that okay? Or do you want to explain? Yeah, better. Okay, fine.
And the status of the properties in question over on Santa Maria and the drainage is the owners are waiting on the design, which is easement execution, which is legal. And the owners are actually waiting on design. We would need an easement to actually provide any assistance in that area. So they're requested a design and currently we have Jeff Howard that is preparing a design and actually doing an elevation survey. Have not gotten the final date. We expect it within the next 30 days is what I'm expecting. And that elevations and design sketch from Jeff Howard is currently in work. It's in process.
Okay, so this, cost-related thing is a little bit presumptuous considering we don't have the design. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we have to wait for that to happen.
The design is, that's a ballpark number, is 2,000, I believe that's not to exceed. Okay? Materials, equipment costs on the high end, that's waiting execution of the easement to verify that. This is going with what we perceive as the amount of distance that we're gonna have to travel. But, that may change depending upon the sketch and design.
We're gonna put it out to bid.
That is not necessarily true, we haven't discussed that.
Well, it also depends on what the design is.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're waiting for that. And he will be finished in the next 30 days.
That's what we're gonna do.
And to piggyback on what Mr. Murphy's briefing, what we're trying to do moving forward is as we approach council with something that is decision-based and there's a rough order of magnitude in terms of cost, we feel it's obligatory that we share that with council, even though it is very preliminary. It kind of helps the decision-making process to understand what exactly we're looking at doing if we want to move forward and or just anything in regards to how much work, what level of work, and future projects. So moving forward, we're trying to, any decision that I bring you, we're trying to have some type of financial bottom line, what is the rough order magnitude of the decision I bring you. Being very budget conscious, understanding that things cost money. So that's why we have these preliminary figures here.
And Jeff is working on this issue specifically, but also the bigger issue, if that's my understanding.
The bigger issue is actually the entire drainage system within the areas. Systems plural. There are two drainage areas, and we anticipate that we're working to get the flyover and actually get 1 to 2 foot elevation increments throughout the entire drainage areas.
There's a concept of time and
We anticipate the flying over being done before spring because of the canopy. I have not gotten the final price from Mr. Howard.
After speaking with Mr. Howard, we feel like the approach that we're going to have to take with the meadows, and not to go into the deep history, but we all know that over the course of decades, things were built, now the water's pulling up, certain things weren't followed. We appreciate and anticipate as we have one area fixed, might cause a problem in the water thing down the road. So this is almost a whack-a-mole event. So we're going to fix this one, we're going to clean it out, we're going to get it right. But the overarching plan that Mr. Howard is going to have with the elevation is going to help us look at it in its entirety. So there's probably more of these types of instances in the foreseeable future.
With those elevations, you'll be able to actually identify what we have to work with from one end to the other. And at that point, a true design can come into place, and what would have to be done if any improvements in relation to that. Certainly you will see different capacities. You'll have sheet flow designs and going to concentrated flow, and also determining the amount of acreage that is attributing to that drainage area and what it would require to get rid of all of that water.
One thing we have to be looking at in this case is this cannot be a short-term measure. We have to look long-term about when we're going to be told that we can't dump any more road water into the Potomac River. And if we go ahead and design a system in the dumps for all of Riverside Meadows and 13th and 14th and 12th Street, and all of that just runs right down the existing ravine down there between 12th and the Carr property, we're going to end up redesigning it and redoing it all in less than 10 years. Because we're going to get, the mandate's coming, the moratorium putting water in the rivers.
I believe we should have DEQ review any design that comes from
any preliminary concepts for long term, because we just don't want to put a bunch of money into it now and then get stuck with a federal mandate like we do on the water and sewer.
I believe Allison might concur with that. We should go from D to DEQ as far as the preliminary design.
Can I ask one more question on the other side of the
Really, 2 questions?
The road paving and everything we did, what's the status of getting our maintenance application in?
Have a list and one draft format that needs to come to you. It will come to council via the town manager.
Do you see any problem with us getting clearance to receive maintenance funds for all the roads?
There are some areas in that we are aware that are too narrow. I received direction actually to just put asphalt down. But we went through prior and did as much drainage and sub-grade work as we could possibly do. There is a section of dogwood that it will be too narrow, and I do not believe it will.
I'm just trying to lay it on.
Stratford Circle
That's had to
We
go
had to
one
go
way.
one way.
Which it was,
Which it basically was anyway, but it had to go one way in order to meet the criteria. Now preliminarily, before we paved, we took a VDOT through to assess what we had there and the storm drainage that we had done. They believed that everything except maybe that section preliminarily would.
Just to point out, that's not a foregone conclusion.
Right. I
Correct.
was of that understanding.
Correct. It needs to go through. And each section will be evaluated.
We need to.
Yeah.
But I just have, I mean, I've lived here a long time, obviously, but I don't know if there's a short history behind how that area came to be the mess that it sounds like it's become.
Bankruptcy, and bankruptcy by history land development.
Okay,
Yes.
well, that,
Short, that's the short answer.
Yes.
that, well,
That was Dr. Ross.
that was Dr. Rosner, and I know that land, and it seemed like the building was going so fast in that area, especially when, oh, they came. Yeah, then when Hammer started to put things in, and it, cause I live over on Cedar, and I've been there almost 30 years, and it was on August before that, so you could see all this kind of, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Locust has water issues every time it rains, because we were always told there was a spring in the back that kind of like, it's a mess too, so,
That area was very low.
yes, yes.
And that cedar was there, that was old.
Yeah, and it's up higher than what my locust was. So, it just surprises me that everything is put together did when there seem to be already so many issues that were in there.
What the designs I've seen, back in those days, in 72, when it was, I believe it was 72, when it was designed and platted, there was actually nothing on that side of Santa Maria that was on the plat. And actually, that is the break line between Bluff Point subdivision,
Yeah,
That's
there,
separate.
drainage area.
right. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
This may be a aggressive question, as in there may not be a true answer yet, but what's the timeline for, even if it's rolled for the full fix, the way that's coming through? To know, like you said, it's whack-a-mole, and we're gonna go through and spend all this money a little bit at a time, as to where if we could also go through and get this thing rolling with the full thing, we're not gonna spend that little bit of money and then come back through and spend a large sum of money. Is there a
Yeah, this is only to alleviate, hopefully, their difficulties. There've been, as far as the drainage system, the entire drainage system, is that what you're asking for, the?
are we
big-
talking 10 years, or are we talking?
You very well could be, and it's going to be,
What's the next step?
depend on budget.
As
It
in
just
getting the
depends on,
mapping that you talked about, is that the next step? Is that what we're waiting on at this point?
we're waiting on the flyover and actually
That's right.
I
getting the mapping.
mean, as
They
far
were
as the
developed-
Vaughn's property, we're looking at inside of 6 months.
Oh, yeah, the Vaughn property, if everything is coordinated well, yes. I would hope that it could be done before the end of spring.
But as far as the whole area, we've got a major problem over there where we can't, under our own subdivision ordinance, we can't go through and do what needs to be done on 13th, 14th, and 15th Street, because we don't have anything in our ordinance that allows us to go in and build our own roads and stuff, and because those properties are all individually owned, there's no way you can get it done by a developer, and that's the way our ordinance is written. So that's something Rob and I've been trying to figure out how to come around, but what reason I say that is because that has to be considered in the overall drainage of that whole area out there, from 205 to probably 9th Street.
I think you should understand in relation to this, if you don't mind, there is a significant portion of the drainage of that easement that is behind the Vaughns and so forth homes that has already been brought to an appropriate elevation. Now, so that your run is not going to be that as far as what it would have been. We actually replaced some pipe that was faulty and re-ran a section. So part of that is going to be lesser. Depending upon what the design is, you know, it could be basically short-term so long as we have the easement.
Okay. Mr. Albert? Yeah.
I do, just some other discussion, I do have one question. And I know Mr. Vaughn, I know his wife, I don't know his neighbor. And I know I've seen pictures of the mess he has, currently there where he's living. But if we fix his property, what's it gonna do to the neighbor's property? And are we gonna get sued for, are we gonna get sued because we fixed their two properties and we put the water on somebody else? Does that make sense? I mean, I live in Riverside Meadows, I don't live near Mr. Vaughn, but a couple blocks over. But I can see as this thing progresses that, and you guys are talking about money, you know, and that's our ability to do something, then, you know, how, is it gonna be done to where we don't have somebody down the street from Mr. Vaughn beating on our door saying, all right, we gotta pay $30,000 to fix his property now? Are we setting
No,
ourselves,
it's going through the mayor's property.
are we setting ourselves up for failure, or a possible lawsuit when we get into this business of fixing somebody else's mess up?
That's a very valid question, and I appreciate you posing it. To the legality of it, I would have to defer to Mr. Cornwell. What Mr. Murphy was speaking of, for this particular instance, if we're able to spend the initial money up front to provide what he has in the front yard to the back, Public Works has already got an easement that will take care of that water for that small area of interest geographically.
Okay, for this particular issue,
For that small geographic area of interest. But as and the point I was making is, okay, let's say we fix that, and it goes well. And now there's more water running off of what didn't run off before. That might cause a pipe clog down the road, or another lower area might get twice the amount of water now that the water is flowing. And we don't know what we don't know until we have that flyover of the larger area of interest. And that will kind of help us plan for those events. And this kind of also ties into Mr. Haas' question too. This is years into Mr. Sherby's thing. It's 10 years down the road, and when they do decide to spring this requirement on us, it's a massive requirement. It's massive, and we hope that funding would follow. But we don't have a crystal ball. So we're trying to alleviate what we can with what we have, knowing that this is going to be an enduring task as we move forward. Does that kind of help? But as far as the out in this room, I'd have to refer to Mr. Coleman.
I would have to say, Jeff Howick is a pretty diligent engineer. He doesn't only look at this specific spot. Jeff's pretty good at looking downstream. He only deals with the northern neck, and the northern neck sucks everywhere. So he's always dealing with problems. So I have to think that in this specific case, that we would potentially not really be increasing or creating a problem down the line that they hadn't anticipated something. He's just not there.
I'm gonna make two
I don't
comments.
believe so.
Yeah, one of them is that we should be actively looking for pursuing stormwater grant money at every corner look that we get. Because this is gonna be an issue for a decade, not just down there, but in several sectors of town. And anywhere we can get that, we're gonna shoot for it. But secondly, is that this particular issue, is catalyst, you know, to the flyover. The flyover needs to happen anyway. So
Correct.
that
And we
they
intend to do
really-
all of the town, but
They're
not
helpful.
map all of the town at this point, but map those 2 areas.
These issues are related, but it's not, we're not doing this, we're not doing the flyover just to solve this. And we're not doing this just to have the flyover. We're gonna have to do both.
The flyover is something we'll use for the next 20 years.
Yeah,
That's correct.
okay. All right, is there any other discussion? None? All right, we're doing good, guys.
Thank you, Ron.
Been a long agenda. All right, the next, status item is, something that is particularly, important to me, and that is that if anybody in our audience attended our priority setting category meeting on Martin Luther King Day, hopefully you left satisfied, impressed, maybe even. We went through nearly 60 outstanding items and talked about every single one. That is a huge accomplishment, I think. Also, there's 3 new members, so it's really important to getting us on board. I know the other members feel like they've been talking about this stuff forever, but it was good to that. So, in following up with that, in those categories, the first category is not that those things have to come first, and the second category has to come second. The categories have themes, and they're just sectioned into the themes. But category 1 happens to be projects with built-in or contractual deadlines. And 3 of those items have deadlines that are coming up extremely, like right now. So it would be remiss to have done all of this work and then not have those on our agenda to discuss them. So, one of them is that our town manager is now about to be a year into it. So we want to review the 1-year contract we had. The second, and really both of the other 2 have to do with grant opportunities. The Robin Grove Shoreline Protection has an opportunity that has just come to our attention, and I'm going to let you guys explain this more because I only received a brief email about it, but it's my understanding there's a deadline in the middle of February to get $75,000 to do a living shoreline at Robin Grove, and that it is a very viable opportunity. And so we would like to direct authorization to pursue grant opportunities. We may want, and I got Kathy to give me a very simple resolution, I mean, you can see it's just like literally 1 sentence long, to come to a consensus to make sure that that is the direction we want to go in. But I want Rob to introduce, or the town manager really, to introduce Robin Grove.
I think you did a very good job explaining exactly what we know. We will, 2 individuals reached out to us and made us aware that there was a grant that could facilitate the living shoreline along Robin Grove, with the understanding that the deadline was February the 14th or 15th. 15th. After I picked up my heart from the floor, because that's not a lot of time for a grant, I picked up the phone and was able to talk with him. And he basically explained that the idea is that they would create a living shoreline, they would grade some of Robin Grove down at certain points along the shoreline. They would also try to do, I think they're called oyster balls. And this is all run by the Nature Conservatory, something to that effect. I can't remember the exact name of the organization. Thank you very much. And it would be of minimal interruption to us. They would be able to not only do all the work themselves in adherence to that, the MRC, all the regulatory bodies that govern the water, but they were also willing to write the grant. And then I picked my heart even further up and said, wow, what an asset for volunteer work to come and be able to perform that in such a short time. I've had a couple of email exchanges with them today, back and forth. We just want to make sure that the only thing that we might have to consider and it is whether or not there's an easement given along the shoreline for them to perform the work itself. And that's what I'm waiting to hear back on.
We need an easement or just some sort of, insurance that they are covered?
They're gonna come back, because it was very vague in the grant information that I was given.
Okay,
So I asked for further information, so we're just waiting to hear back on that. As of 5 o'clock, they had not contacted me back, but they're very eager to do all the yeoman's work in regards to the grant and the actual physical work if awarded. My recommendation to council is to let them proceed, or to direct myself and staff to allow them to proceed, with the understanding that even if we're awarded a grant, doesn't mean we have to pursue it. So if the grant is not for a liking, we don't have to pursue it.
Have they seen our design that we had?
Yes, the design that was done in 2015, yes.
and
They have not seen that.
They need to see
They have
that,
not.
because this is almost like when you brought the Torrey Smith Park in. It was for the tennis courts and the basketball court, and nobody thought about the engineering. The design that came in here has a living shoreline and orthopeds and all that, but there's also an extensive amount of grading that has to take place to make it work. And I'm sure that they have not anticipated that part.
there is
They
some
need to
great-
see, they need to see, they need to see that design, because I guarantee you that's not what they're thinking.
Yeah, I do want them to see the design, but they do anticipate there being a significant amount of grading. So, but you're right.
It was 1-to-1 to grade, I recall seeing that
So
on.
as long as they'll buy into the grant being and their volunteer work being, the design that's been put together, and that was a government agency that put that together, that met the Chesapeake Bay Act, so as long as they're willing to go with that, then great, let's do it. But if they're only talking about the part that, the living shoreline part, that's not the whole job.
And again, resolution is to authorize and direct the town manager to pursue grant opportunities. So, once that happens, if we are offered the grant, then we'll get all the details of it. This is February 15th, today is 5th. So, anyway, it's very exciting, but I don't want to miss it, so that's why it's here. You were on part. Okay, yeah, so hold on, so there's part two. Part two, and they can be separate, I know, they can be separate resolutions, or they can be together, because they're for the same thing. The last item in the first category is the Eleanor Park Conservation Easement, which would have to be pursued in March. This was discussed at our prioritization meeting. If this is going to be pursued in March, then we need a consensus that we are indeed authorizing and directing to pursue this grant opportunity, so that our town manager can work with the Friends of Eleanor, whatever, to go after it. If we miss this, then, I don't know what we're doing. So, the resolution has both of those grant opportunities in it. Is there any discussion on it? The Friends of Eleanor has a grant writer. That was proposed at the grant writing meeting. Is there a second grant writer?
Other people can write that. That's all I want to hear.
We're like doing none of the work, so
Bravo.
I know, yeah. Except for the administration.
That's when the jobs come around, then we'll talk about the special projects person who's running.
That's true. Let's try to get the money first.
Yep, you got it.
All right, is there any further discussion on that? I don't care either way.
Well, they're two different things.
Yeah, it's just, it's a lot.
Okay, all right. Now therefore be it resolved by the Colonial Beach Town Council at its monthly meeting on February 6th, that the town manager is hereby authorized and directed to pursue grant opportunities for Robin Grove Living Shoreline, Natural Conservatory, correct, and Eleanor Property Conservation.
All right, let's Sorry. I know your names, but if I read them wrong, I'll be embarrassed. Mr. Alger, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Survey?
Aye.
Mr. I.
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
And Vice Chair votes aye. Chair. All right. Is there any other discussion if not, we're going to citizen input?
Madam Chairman, just really quickly, I was contacted by friends of Delano Park, just to piggyback onto this, and I kind of want a consensus, not so much a vote, but, I've been asked to send an email to Delegate Ransom as well as, Mr. Stewart. They were both advocates for attempting to try and get us additional monies, from the legislature this year, and as we know, they're already in session. But I did not want to send either of those emails on my own. So I would just like to follow up with a consensus, and I would be happy to copy everybody on the council with those emails, just letting them know that we're seeking, other use for Elmer Park, and to ask them to advocate for us in the legislature if they could, as far as the Virginia Outdoors Foundation or whoever else is going to be a possibility for us to apply.
Anybody have a problem with that?
No?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll send them out tomorrow, and all you folks will be copied.
Thank you. All right, next up is citizen input, and I am going to be restricted. You have 3 minutes. I appreciate your input, but I also appreciate the fact that we have been here for 2 hours and still have a closed session to do. Is there any, I have 3 people signed up for citizen input. Mr. Vaughn, you're first.
Vice Mayor, Council,
Thank you.
first off, I want to say thank you for getting my water problem on the agenda so quickly. But let me remind you, that swell that runs between my house and my neighbor's house is not a storm ditch. I do believe these prices that I see here are kind of heavily escalated, because it's going to be an open ditch concept for our discussion on site the other day with Jeff Howard. I've been asking for 12 years to get to resolve this problem. It's done nothing but got worse. It's eroded my front yard. When I first moved into the property 12 years ago, I brought in a lot of dirt. Of course, a lot of that dirt is gone now. And all I'm asking for is a little bit of help. There was a comment made about what's going to happen if you fix my yard and water goes elsewhere and affects somebody else's yard. Well, I don't know, Steve, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Survey could probably answer the question. The first time when VDOT came in and paved our road with chip and tar, there was discussion to regrade the storm ditches. Well, that idea got squashed. And they went and just did it anyway. Everybody knows when you pave a road, you crown the road. Water drains off. That just pushes more water into my yard. All I'm asking for is a little bit of help. Please. Can I get it? Please.
Thank you.
I have nothing else.
Next up, citizen input is Mr. Walter Hurd.
First of all, I want to thank the employees of Public Works for doing the fantastic cleanup job on the golf cart trail. They spent 2 days up there, if not more. Now, the other thing, a while back, the town sold the old police department. And the town said they were going to tear down the old Klotz building. Nothing has been done. And has the building actually been sold? That would be the end of my conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. Next up, and it is very hard for me to read this name. Maybe it's a David?
Probably me.
I apologize.
It's all right.
Robert?
Yeah, Robert Lillard.
R.D.
I remember now why it took me 40 years to come back down here.
I'm following the chain of command. I've made a complaint to the chief of police here about the shooting of birds in a bird sanctuary with duck blinds inside the town incorporated limits. Hopefully, he's on the same page as the conservation officers now. There's a duck blind in Tides Mill Creek across from Wilkerson's Restaurant within the town incorporated limits. I warned the gentleman twice last year, showed him the plat, you're inside town incorporated limits, you're shooting birds in a bird sanctuary. He didn't pay any attention. He came back again this year. I called, the officers responded, said they couldn't do anything to it. Hopefully now they realize that all of that property up there is no longer A1 agricultural. It's all town incorporated limits. It's zone public urban development, which means there's no discharging of firearms at all. And put some signs up. These guys are coming all the way from Maryland to hunt Monroe Bay, and you can't do anything about it because they're in Westmoreland County, but they're shooting into the town of Colonial Beach. Supposedly there's been complaints from Monroe Landon, the townhouses across the food line, where the guys are sitting in Westmoreland County and shooting into a bird sanctuary. It's a simple solution. Go to Westmoreland County, get the setbacks like they have at Land's End and a couple other sanctuaries, so they have to stay 200 yards, 300 yards, or whatever from the bird sanctuary. They've also been slaying deer up there in the Public Works area for quite a number of years. And it's not agricultural anymore, and it hasn't been since 2009. So hopefully conservation officers would appreciate it a lot, because they're getting tired of wasting man hours coming down here and they can't do anything about it because it's in your corporated limits. Just wanted to bring it to attention. Put some signs up, get the yahoos out here.
When you address that complaint, will you please contact the county supervisor and our representative? Thank you. I see no expert. All right. That would go ahead and sign up. Is there anybody else signed up for visit? How convenient it is.
Madam Chairman, may I make a brief report?
Yep.
I know we discussed at one time issues related to personnel, and I also brought to your attention my associate, Ms. Katz, who lives in Commonwealth, Virginia. I wanted to tell you Ms. Katz will be here, I believe it's Wednesday, to meet with staff and to work on personnel matters, including position statements and evaluation documents. And I also want to tell you that that is being demonstrated.
Baby, are you gonna make cookies for that, or? Okay. I don't know. We're thanking people for free.
You can probably take her out to lunch. Yes.
All right, take her out to lunch. Wonderful. Yes, please. Is there a motion to go into closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1 for discussion, consideration, or interviews with prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, discipline, or resignation for the employees, and pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3 for discussion or consideration of acquisition or disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Do we have to vote individually on this one? Okay. Mr. Alger? Aye. Mr. I?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Mr. Robertson? Aye. Mr. Serby? Aye. And Chair votes aye.